Welcome to this animation speedrun. So today we're going to be looking at how we can create this Spider-Man sort of 3-point landing inside of Maya. And as always, the goal of this animation speedrun is to give ourselves no more than 30 minutes to get this animation really as far as we possibly can. And obviously that means we're not going to really complete this animation because you're never really going to get to any really nice polishing in just 30 minutes, but it will allow us to really focus in on really the most important things that we need to establish to really get the feeling of the shot across as fast as we can. So it kind of forces you to really focus on the big picture of the animation and really not get lost in the small, minute details that can often happen as you're animating. And we're going to be using the free Spider-Verse rig for this animation, so you can download it yourself if you want to follow along. So with that, let's go ahead and open up Maya and begin creating this animation. All right, so we've got Maya open up here with our Spider-Verse Spider-Man rig, and we're just going to begin creating this 3-point landing. We're going to keep it really simple. Again, we only have 30 minutes. This is going to be an animation speed run just to see how far we can get within 30 minutes. And then once we hit that mark, we have to stop the time kind of no matter where the animation is currently at. So my initial thought was actually having Spider-Man kind of jumping in or swinging in from really far away. But with 30 minutes, that's not really feasible. So at least getting it into a somewhat decent place. So I'll probably just have him kind of landing, kind of have the camera close and just have him kind of landing down into camera view from off screen, just to keep it simpler. I already have this landing pose started here just so I don't spend half the time of this speed run posing this character out rather than actually animating. All right, so I've got my selection set here. We can go ahead and start the timer and we can begin animating. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything. I'll just go to frame 60, drop a keyframe down, and then on this first pose, I'll start changing this pose up. So I'm going to go ahead and select my IK leg and hand controls, the torso, and I'm just going to bring him up to something like this. Let's say that works for now. Grab that torso control here, kind of start to straighten him out. Tweak the upper IK chest control, kind of straighten his body out, bring this arm over. Obviously need to bring the hand up, and I'll keep this hand in IK. It's going to be moving pretty quickly, so it'll probably just be easier to have this in IK. I'm going to grab the neck and head, this IK neck control, kind of zero that out just to kind of start from kind of a base pose here. All right, let's bring the legs in. He's going to be falling. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with the arms. I might actually have the arms kind of up above his head, maybe. I'll kind of see how that looks first. But really figuring out this initial kind of drop pose. We want to get this into a somewhat decent place so we can have, something to work with. But it will be, this is going to be something that we want, moving pretty quickly. Dropping into this land. I'll probably keep the feet, closer together here. Let's see. Obviously, we'll need to work on the timing because this is taking a full second to go from here to here. So we know that's going to be, way too slow. Let's see. Let me try. Bringing this arm up, maybe. See if this works. Fix this wrist. I'll bring this hand up, but I'm not sure if this is actually gonna work how I want. It's a really rough pose, but be fine for now. On this rig, the on the IK wrist, the translation and the rotation are separate controls, which I really don't like, just because I don't like having to switch between controls. Not sure if I like this, just like these two arm, raised pose. I might end up tweaking this. He'll probably be looking kind of down where he's wanting to land. So I'll kind of block that in. Yeah, I have a feeling I'll probably tweak the arm pose. I might just have the arms kind of already kind of starting to get where they're going to land. So that left arm would probably be, lower and dropped down. Do something like this. Like that. All right. So I know I want to go ahead and bring this down to here. Still, going way too slow. So I'll maybe even go to like frame 15. I also know I need to ease in off of that. So I'm probably actually going to go ahead and with Animbot select that previous keyframe. So now these are the same poses. And then I'm going to, translate the feet and the arms, because I don't want them kind of just blending like he was doing. Maya kind of just blending between those two poses. He's still going to be in like a stretched out pose. And like here he might actually be, let me see this. I might bring him down here. Let me blend. I'm not super worried about timing just yet. I kind of want to just figure out these two, kind of like this breakdown pose. Grab the hips, bring them down. Like this pose I think is going to be, an important pose to kind of figure out. How does he look really right before he slides into his kind of, 3-point sort of landing pose? It's going to be kind of important to flesh out. So like right away, this is already starting to help me figure out like those arms, at least when his toes are touching the ground, they're not working out great. So I think like this, at least in this pose in general, he'll want to be kind of leading and reaching with his hand out. And there might be a way to change this rig so that the rotation and translation are not separated. I've never actually really used this rig before other than working on this animation right now. So I don't really know the ins and outs of it. So I could just be making my life way harder than it needs to be by not, knowing exactly how this rig is set up. Probably have him, bent down a little bit there. Bring that chest down. Take that shoulder back. Still not 100% sure I'm liking this arm. Maybe it might work better if he keeps his arm down and then it kind of goes up after he lands. So he's kind of keeping it down. It might give it a cool movement into the arm kind of back there. So maybe like this elbow could be maybe rotated in on this pose. Bring this hand kind of in, and then it kind of snaps out on that landing, kind of almost unfurling there. Kind of working, but not the best. Probably bring this hand down out in front on this start pose. All right, so let's see. Do I need to bring this? Maybe I need to rotate this a bit more. Something just doesn't feel quite right about this yet. And so what I want to do now is really tweak the timing here. So I'm probably going to shift this over several frames because I know I want it to go from here to here really quickly. Might already starting to be kind of looking up here. Something like that. Might even be too slow. Cool. I need to open up the graph editor to really look at the path of this. I'll snap it there. The path of this curve, really. Let's see. Actually, let me bring this up. See how this feels. It's gonna be like really stretched out. Don't know if I like that. Undo that. Let me bring this back up. Maybe I want something about like this, at least. But then, let's see. This I know I want to land pretty hard, so I want to make sure my spacing works for this section. Bring this key up. Something like that. Like that might work a little bit better. Feet are stretching out, but that's fine. I can start to actually bring some of these up just a little bit. Stretching out is probably fine too, like getting that feeling of a little bit of stretch in some of these. I think something else though that's really important to make sure that we do is that like this, I want it to be on the ground. This needs to be kind of reaching down a bit more. Maybe you can start to slide out right here as the body comes down. Be a little bit too fast there. Something like that. I think something I really need to make sure I tweak here is I'm gonna bring the feet up. looking okay. Wrist up. I'm gonna grab this here and work on the settle a little bit. This might be a little bit tricky to get right. It feels all right. Feels a little bit sluggish. Might need to bring that back one frame. Actually, let me try something else here. Let me just go straight up after that first hit. So the hips kind of bounce up, then they go down, then maybe they go back up slightly. Don't know if I like that. Let's try this again. So yeah, this is definitely what happens in animation sometimes. It's like just kind of trial and error of trying something out, seeing if you like it. Cool. Let me grab the rotate X on this. So like here, let me see if I might try to really play around with exaggerating the rotation backward until he lands. So maybe here I'll bring that back. So yeah, we get like a nice offset. It's like what I'm imagining here, he's kind of rotated back still. His legs and hands are hitting the ground just to get some break up. And then he rotates his whole body down. And then as his hips shift back up, then that's going to cause the body to continue rotating down even more to get like a nice break up. And then the hips are going to drop again, getting us to here. Then maybe they go back up just slightly over a few frames. And this might even be slightly too much there. I might need to just bring these up. Let's see, maybe this is too fast. Something like that. It's not quite working. Let me delete this keyframe there. All right. Maybe it needs to be a little bit faster. Same here. Maybe it actually needs to be a little bit snappier on the chest rotation there. Try that. Definitely feels better. Needed to add quite a bit more snap to it. Looking at that with that rotation now, I think this could be dropped just a bit more. And then, actually, let me just grab this keyframe out here and drag it back. It's going to go back up, but probably not that much. So I'll really bring this keyframe down. Cool. So yeah, the drop doesn't look that great, but what I really want to focus on with these last, 12 minutes or so is just trying to get this settle to work a bit better. It might need to be faster too. It feels a little bit sluggish coming down. But let's go ahead and take a look at like this hand coming down. kind of want this hand to really be, you know, rotated, pointed down, reaching for the ground basically. And then it kind of obviously dies off there and then speeds up. So we really need to work on this spacing here as well. So this hand is really what hits first, but what we could also do is maybe have it drop kind of more straight down and then kind of slides into that final position. So maybe here I'll even dial it back so it kind of lands and then shoots forward. And it could maybe overshoot just a tiny bit and have like a drift back. Something like that. Definitely don't like how looks like this head is kind of gimbaling out a bit. So let me make sure I kind of fix this. Kind of brute force this in between to at least blend a bit better between these two keyframes. Same on this arm, we need to add kind of a better settle here. Let me select all of these. Let me actually select all of these and right arm to do a keying set on that selection set. Would have been better if I set this up before actually starting the animation, just because again with these 30-minute speed runs, we only have 30 minutes, so anywhere I could save some time would be good. So like here, maybe I'll do something like this, maybe. I'm not sure if I like that. Then it'll drop down. Maybe it'll continue down just a bit through some of this. So it goes up, down. Maybe bring that out a bit further. And then maybe even have it drop just slightly. I don't like the circle arc it's taking. Since I don't have a ton of time, I'm literally just frame by framing this path through here. Again, kind of just forcing it to follow a path I kind of want. It feels a little bit better. Definitely not perfect. Definitely not exactly the kind of path I'm looking for. Let me grab, I guess it'd be rotate Y a bit. So maybe start to rotate it out. Let's see. So it goes this way. Maybe it'll drop back just a tiny bit. Something like that. Definitely not perfect, but it's something. Let me see if I can add like a tiny bit of movement on this chest here. Actually, let me grab this shoulder control first. It's like here, I want the shoulder down. I'm just gonna add like a little bit of kind of movement on this. Oops, that does not look good. It's moving way too much at that final. All right, now let me grab this chest. Same here, maybe have it rotate just a little bit inward, like that. Maybe twist out this way. Something like that. Bring this timeline back. Maybe add like a little bit of interest on the legs. So maybe bringing the knee in here. Then maybe it rotates out slightly, then back in. Quickly add like a tiny bit more movement. This foot needs to kind of already be in that position, at least here, and then it can slide in maybe something like this. Just to give the feet a bit more of a connection to the ground. Here, I'll probably bring this down. You feel that compression in the heel, then up as the hips bring up, come up, that heel is gonna come up, and that foot roll, then back down. It's gonna drift down a little bit just to make sure the legs feel a bit more connected. That's definitely more polishy stuff than we have really time for. Something else that would feel really nice that I don't think I'll have time for is like getting this, right, the nice spread that you want on the fingers as they kind of come down. Maybe I'll just quickly grab these fingers and like get them into like a curled, slightly more curled pose, so that they feel a bit better coming in here. So maybe I'll keep them curled there. Into something like that. Cool. This drop definitely feels a little bit light, but we've only got a couple minutes. So what I'm gonna do is go here to camera, drop a camera in, make sure I can see it, scale it up, come over here, drop into the camera view. I'll set this to 1080. So this is going to be probably really close. And I can maybe play around with the focal length just a little bit. He probably needs to be dropping in from much higher than he actually is. You can kind of see his feet. That's not too bad. What I might do real quick is let me grab this master control. I'll set a keyframe around frame 4 and I'll just bring this up and see how this looks to at least get him completely out of camera view. Definitely feels like he's dropping just a tiny bit too slow. Let me see if I can just bring this. I'm going to shift everything back one keyframe by hitting my add-on there, just to see if I can get him to drop a little bit faster. All right. Let's see if I can do some real quick camera animation. Bring the camera down here, something like this. Oops. Maybe it goes back up slightly. I'm not sure how that's going to look. Nope. I'm gonna do that. Let me actually split this and do, probably be easier to do it here. So I'm just gonna rotate this up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna add this camera on a layer, and then real quick, let's do, oops, be X, I guess, Z. Let's add like a little bit of shake on the camera. Might look pretty bad, but there we go. Not too bad. Got a little bit of camera movement on there, but yeah, it's about all the time we have for this. Looks like we hit that 30-minute mark. So yeah, got the animation to this place in 30 minutes. There's obviously, you know, a ton that we need to do. I think overall the drop coming in definitely doesn't have the best pose. It's kind of just like, you can see him. We have it at least fast enough where it kind of missed some of that, but like, yeah, all this is not a great or very interesting pose just before he actually lands here. Definitely get, you know, better finger animation. This arm on the back definitely needs better kind of overlap and settle. But I think we got it to a, you know, a somewhat decent place. We have some nice kind of feeling of weight to this landing. Really the focus first is just getting that, you know, kind of up and down of the hips, the general, just like right when he lands, how do we want those hips to feel once they kind of take all that weight, and then kind of offsetting some of the rotation in the chest definitely helps a lot as well to get that kind of nice weight in it by overlapping, you know, the chest the chest rotating down as the hips move up, kind of gets that feeling of like drag in it. So yeah, there's definitely some more we can do with this, but yeah, doing this as a kind of an animation speed run. I love doing these exercises where, you know, I'm working with a really strict time constraint and just seeing how far I can get, and, you know, having to move beyond kind of the smaller details, the things that I really want to go in there and tweak, and just try to focus on kind of like the bigger picture of how can I sell this landing as quickly as I can. What are the main pieces? What are the most important pieces that sell a landing like this? And giving yourself a time constraint like that kind of forces you to focus on, you know, the feeling that I want to get across. How do I get that feeling across in 30 minutes when I can't focus on really nice like details in the animation? So kind of focusing again on that bigger picture of just getting, you know, kind of the landing, the up and down of the hips. You know, looking at this, I think we could definitely increase the amount that the hips actually, you know, drop here before they go back up. I think we could definitely play around and exaggerate that feeling as well. Definitely be one area we could improve on. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Definitely encourage you to download this free rig. It's a really fun rig to use, and really just a great body mechanics rig in general. So that brings us to the end of this animation speedrun. Hopefully you were able to get some helpful information out of this, kind of see my thought process as I'm animating, and really my thought process when I'm under a time constraint like this, and really focusing in on the most important aspects of the animation, really the most important things that are needed in order to really sell a shot. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.